Ladies and gentlemen, every one of us has said at some point, I'm not ready, and not ready for the new job, not ready for the challenge, not ready for the responsibility, but here's the truth, you are ready, because you've been training for this life, whether you meant to or not. Every disappointment taught you endurance, every mistake trained your humility, every success built your confidence, and every heartbreak opened space for empathy. You see, life doesn't hand out practice sessions before the real thing. Life is the real thing, and every experience you've had up to this moment has been part of your preparation. We often believe training comes with a plan, a schedule, or a coach. But the most powerful lessons come from moments we didn't sign up for, the ones that broke us, confused us, or forced us to start over. Think about it. The person you've become today didn't appear by accident. You were shaped by repetition, the repeated act of standing up after being knocked down. You trained your patience when you had to wait for something that mattered. You trained your courage when you spoke up even when your voice trembled. You trained your focus when distractions tried to pull you away from what you cared about. So if you're standing at a crossroad, doubting yourself, remember, this moment is not a test of your potential. It's a demonstration of your preparation. You've already done the hard work. You've already lifted the weight of uncertainty. You've already built the strength to move forward. The question isn't, am I ready? The question is, am I willing to trust the person I've become? Because readiness is not about confidence. It's about conviction. It's about knowing that even if the next step feels unfamiliar, your past has already trained you to handle the unknown. So step forward. Not with arrogance, but with awareness. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've survived all the questions. You trained for this life, whether you meant to or not, and that means, right now, you're exactly where your preparation was meant to take you. Life, in its quiet yet persistent rhythm, is always teaching us something. Whether we notice it or not, every interaction, every success, and every setback leaves an imprint on how we think, act, and respond to the world. The idea that only formal education or deliberate practice counts as training is a misunderstanding. In reality, life itself is the most immersive and unrelenting training ground we will ever have. Each moment, no matter how ordinary, becomes a subtle lesson shaping who we are and how we show up in the world. From the moment we begin to navigate our earliest challenges, learning to walk, speak, or make friends, we are training adaptability. The small stumbles, the repeated attempts, and the eventual success form the foundation of resilience. As we grow, the lessons simply change form. Failing an exam teaches us to assess our effort and discipline. Being left out by friends trains us in emotional endurance and empathy. Losing something we care about teaches us how to value what remains. None of these experiences are pleasant in the moment, yet each one strengthens our capacity to face the next phase of life. Training, in the broadest sense, is not about repetition of skill alone. It is about the repetition of response. Life constantly gives us opportunities to refine our responses, to frustration, to loss, to uncertainty. When we react impulsively and regret it later, we learn restraint. When we avoid a difficult conversation and it creates misunderstanding, we learn the importance of courage. Every time we are tested, we are in training, even if we do not call it that. The feedback loop of experience and reflection becomes our most effective teacher. What makes this training remarkable is that it happens without permission. We do not enroll in it, we live through it. Every morning when we wake up, we are entering another session of learning. The traffic that tests our patience, the colleague who challenges our ideas, the unexpected change in plans. All these moments are shaping our emotional and cognitive flexibility. Some people resist this truth and view inconveniences as interruptions. Others recognize them as rehearsals for something greater. The difference between frustration and growth is the ability to see life's difficulties as disguised lessons. This understanding changes how we view our own story. Often, people look back at their lives and see a series of unrelated events, jobs, relationships, setbacks, without recognizing the thread of training that connects them. Yet, when we reflect with intention, we start to see patterns. The person who once struggled to speak in front of others now leads teams with confidence because every awkward presentation and nervous conversation was a form of practice. The entrepreneur who failed multiple times before succeeding didn't waste years. They were gathering data, refining judgment, and building endurance. Life does not give us isolated experiences. It gives us cumulative lessons that compound over time. Even moments that seem trivial are part of this training. When we practice patience at the grocery line or choose kindness in a disagreement, we are developing the habits that determine how we'll handle more significant challenges later. The mind and character are like muscles. They strengthen through consistent use. Every act of self-control, every decision to persevere, every effort to learn from mistakes contributes to invisible growth. We might not feel it immediately, but it accumulates quietly until it reveals itself in moments that demand it most. The beauty of recognizing every experience as training is that it redefines the meaning of struggle. Instead of labeling difficulties as misfortunes, we begin to see them as practice sessions designed to expand our capacity. A difficult season at work is not punishment, it's preparation. A failed relationship is not wasted time, it's emotional conditioning. A period of uncertainty is not chaos, it's a test of adaptability. When we understand this, we stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question alone transforms the way we engage with life. This perspective instills humility. Realizing that every experience, no matter how small, has value reminds us that we are always students. No one ever graduates from the school of life. There is always another lesson waiting to unfold. This mindset encourages continuous growth, curiosity, and empathy. When we view others through this lens, we recognize that they too are in training. Their mistakes, like ours, are part of their learning curve. This awareness fosters patience and understanding in our relationships and communities. Ultimately, to say that every experience is training is to acknowledge that we are never truly unprepared. The trials, triumphs, and transitions we've endured have been shaping us all along. The skills we need to face the future are not entirely new. They are extensions of what we have already practiced, often unconsciously. The resilience built from past pain, the perspective gained from past confusion, and the wisdom gathered from past decisions are all forms of readiness. Whether we meant to or not, we have been preparing for this moment since the day we began living. People often spend years searching for their purpose, imagining it as a grand revelation, a moment of clarity where everything suddenly makes sense. They wait for inspiration, direction, or certainty, believing that purpose will arrive fully formed when they are ready. But purpose is rarely discovered in a single moment. It evolves through repetition, experience, and the small, often unnoticed acts that shape our identity over time. It grows quietly in the background, nurtured not by perfection, but by persistent practice. Every time we act on something we care about, even imperfectly, we move closer to our sense of purpose. The process of showing up, of doing, failing, adjusting, and trying again, is what transforms curiosity into calling. The artist finds purpose not in the first painting, but in the thousands of brushstrokes that came before it. The teacher's purpose doesn't come from a perfect lesson plan, but from years of connecting with students, learning what inspires them and what doesn't. Purpose is not found in the moments when everything goes right. It's revealed in the moments when we keep going despite things going wrong. Practice gives shape to meaning. Every repetition, no matter how small, deepens understanding. A person who volunteers once might feel inspired, but a person who volunteers consistently begins to understand the deeper needs of others and their own motivation to serve. It is through doing the work again and again that clarity emerges. In this way, practice is a form of inquiry. It helps us ask better questions about who we are and what matters most to us. The repetition is not about mastery of a task. It's about mastery of understanding ourselves in relation to that task. Perfection, on the other hand, is an illusion that often stands in the way of purpose. The desire to get everything right before starting can paralyze growth. People say they will begin when they feel more confident, more skilled, or more certain, but confidence does not precede action. It follows it. Skill is built through mistakes, not through avoidance of them. The longer we wait to begin until everything feels perfect, the longer we delay the very process that would help us become ready. Purpose is not something we prepare for, it's something we practice into existence. Each experience of effort, regardless of the outcome, contributes to the formation of meaning. When we fail, we learn what does not align with us. When we succeed, we learn what resonates. Both outcomes provide data that guide us toward purpose. The scientist who spends years in failed experiments eventually stumbles upon discovery not because they were certain from the beginning, but because they stayed committed to the process. Likewise, we find our own direction through the accumulation of trial, error, and reflection. Purpose is not static. It evolves with us. What drives us at one stage of life may not sustain us at another. This is why continuous practice is essential. By staying engaged, we remain attuned to our inner shifts and external realities. The discipline of showing up every day, doing the work, and learning from feedback keeps our purpose alive and responsive. It prevents stagnation and allows us to adapt without losing our core. The practice becomes both a mirror and a map. It reflects who we are while guiding us toward who we are becoming. Another dimension of purpose that emerges through practice is connection. When we consistently engage in meaningful work, we begin to see how our efforts influence others. The musician realizes their songs move people to feel. The doctor recognizes that each patient interaction shapes trust. The leader discovers that small acts of integrity inspire others far beyond what they intended. These realizations are not intellectual, they are experiential. We do not understand impact by thinking about it, we understand it by living it. Practice teaches empathy because it immerses us in the lived experience of others. The pursuit of perfection isolates, the commitment to practice connects. Perfection says, do it flawlessly or not at all. Practice says, do it wholeheartedly and you'll grow. One is motivated by fear of failure, the other by desire for progress. Purpose only thrives in the second mindset because it requires openness to imperfection. Our mistakes become part of the story, not evidence against it. They remind us that the journey matters as much as the result. When we focus on practice, we also redefine success. Instead of measuring it by external validation, we begin to value consistency, learning, and contribution. The artist paints not for applause, but for expression. The teacher teaches not for recognition, but for transformation. The entrepreneur builds not only for profit, but for progress. Each act of commitment deepens the sense of why the invisible thread that connects what we do to who we are. Over time, practice becomes identity. What begins as effort becomes instinct. The runner no longer runs just for health, but because running is part of who they are. The caregiver no longer helps out of obligation, but because compassion has become a natural response. Purpose emerges when practice and identity merge, when what we do aligns seamlessly with who we are becoming. Perfection demands certainty before action. Practice asks only for willingness. The person who practices learns to find meaning in process, patience in repetition, and direction in motion. Through this lens, purpose is not discovered like a hidden treasure. It is crafted like a sculpture, slowly, deliberately, through the friction of real life. Every imperfect attempt adds shape. Every repetition refines the vision. And one day, without realizing it, the person looks at the work of their own hands and recognizes it as their purpose, not because it was found, but because it was built. The way we interpret our experiences determines the quality of our growth. Two people can live through the same situation. One emerges stronger while the other feels defeated. The difference is not in the circumstance, but in the mindset that filters it. Mindset acts as the lens through which we perceive reality, transforming challenges into lessons or obstacles into roadblocks. When we choose to see life's difficulties as training rather than punishment, we take control of our narrative. We stop reacting and begin responding with intention. Mastery begins in the mind long before it appears in skill. Every great athlete, artist, or leader starts by cultivating the belief that growth is possible. Without that belief, effort feels pointless. The fixed mindset tells us that our abilities are set in stone, that we are either talented or not, capable or incapable. The growth mindset tells us that talent is the starting point, not the finish line. It invites curiosity, resilience, and experimentation. When people operate from this perspective, failure becomes feedback, not finality. They ask, "What can I learn from this?" instead of "Why did I fail?" Each challenge becomes a test of interpretation. When we encounter difficulty, the immediate instinct is often frustration or self-doubt, but mastery requires reframing. A setback in work is not evidence of inadequacy, it's a signal that we are pushing the boundaries of our current ability. A disagreement in a relationship is not a sign of incompatibility, it's an opportunity to deepen understanding and communication. By shifting from blame to learning, from fear to curiosity, we unlock the energy to keep growing. The most transformative moments in life often arrive disguised as difficulties. Mindset is what helps us recognize them as such. This mental framing influences not only how we approach problems, but also how we sustain progress. A strong mindset fuels consistency, the quiet discipline to keep practicing even when motivation fades. People who rely on enthusiasm alone tend to burn out. Those who rely on perspective endure. They understand that growth is nonlinear, full of plateaus and dips. Instead of expecting perfection, they value persistence. Each repetition becomes a small victory in shaping who they are becoming. Mastery is not achieved by avoiding frustration, but by learning to work through it with patience. Mindset also governs the stories we tell ourselves. Every person carries an internal dialogue that shapes behavior. When that voice says, "I'm not good at this," progress stalls. When it says, "I can learn this," the mind opens to possibility. These small self-statements accumulate into identity. Over time, people act according to the beliefs they reinforce. The individual who constantly tells themselves they can't improve eventually stops trying. The one who insists on learning finds creative ways to adapt. Self-perception becomes self-fulfilling. Changing the internal script is one of the most powerful ways to change results. Another aspect of mindset shaping mastery is how we perceive effort. In a culture that celebrates instant results, effort is often misunderstood as a sign of struggle or inadequacy. But effort is the language of mastery. The pianist practicing scales for hours is not failing. They are deepening fluency. The student rewriting notes repeatedly is not slow. They are building comprehension. Every deliberate effort is a form of investment, a deposit into the long-term account of growth. People who see effort as a path to excellence rather than evidence of weakness build resilience that outlasts momentary setbacks. The mindset of mastery also embraces uncertainty. True learners understand that not knowing is the beginning of wisdom. They are comfortable being beginners, even in unfamiliar or uncomfortable environments. Instead of avoiding what they don't understand, they engage with it. Curiosity becomes their compass. This humility to remain teachable allows them to continually evolve. In contrast, those who fear being seen as inexperienced often stop exploring new opportunities. They cling to what they already know, mistaking familiarity for competence. Mastery requires the courage to be a beginner again and again. Mindset influences how we interpret feedback as well. Constructive criticism, when viewed defensively, feels like an attack. When viewed through the lens of growth, it becomes a tool. The difference lies in emotional framing. People who master their mindset do not equate feedback with personal failure. They see it as information. They learn to separate identity from performance. "I made a mistake" is very different from "I am a mistake." This mental distinction protects confidence while still allowing accountability. The ability to receive feedback with openness accelerates learning far more than the avoidance of discomfort. Even the relationship between success and mindset is crucial. Success without perspective can create complacency. A healthy mindset treats success not as a final destination, but as an invitation to refine further. Those who view achievement as validation often stop growing once they receive approval. Those who view achievement as progress keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Mastery requires humility at the peak just as much as perseverance at the bottom. Mindset also shapes how we relate to others. Individuals who believe in growth tend to encourage it in those around them. They give others permission to learn, to fail, and to evolve. They create environments where experimentation is safe and improvement is celebrated. Leaders who adopt this mindset cultivate teams that innovate and adapt because people feel trusted to explore. Conversely, leaders who operate from fear of failure often suppress creativity, valuing control over curiosity. The collective mindset of a group can elevate or limit its potential. Ultimately, every moment of mastery begins as a mental choice to view life as a series of opportunities rather than obstacles. The mind that seeks lessons will always find them, even in difficulty. The one that seeks excuses will always find barriers. By shaping how we think, we shape what we become. Mindset is not just a perspective. It is the architecture of growth, the silent force that turns experience into expertise and intention into accomplishment. Most people underestimate the quiet preparation life has already given them. They look at challenges and think, "I'm not ready for this," unaware that readiness rarely feels like confidence. It feels like courage in disguise. Every lesson learned, every hardship endured, and every risk taken has contributed to the skill set that exists within them right now. The evidence of readiness is not the absence of fear. It's the presence of the tools and wisdom gained from past experiences. Even when we feel uncertain, we are often far more equipped than we realize. From childhood onward, life has been a series of lessons disguised as ordinary moments. The disagreements that taught patience, the mistakes that demanded accountability, and the disappointments that cultivated emotional endurance, all of these experiences have been silent instructors. They didn't announce themselves as training sessions, yet they built the foundation of who we are. Every time we adapted, recovered, or persisted, we were practicing resilience. The mind, heart, and character learn to bend without breaking, and that flexibility is the essence of readiness. Many people assume that being equipped means possessing all the answers before beginning. But life doesn't work that way. Being equipped means possessing the ability to learn, to adapt, and to stay grounded under pressure. No one starts a new chapter fully prepared. They grow into it by using what they already have. The courage to begin is often the greatest tool of all. People who take action despite uncertainty discover capacities they never knew existed. Readiness is not something you acquire. It's something you reveal by stepping forward. Every obstacle we've faced has left behind a resource. The confidence to handle discomfort, the memory of surviving something difficult, or the empathy to understand others better. These resources may not look like traditional skills, but they are far more valuable. The person who has faced loss knows how to comfort others. The one who has failed knows how to persevere. The one who has been misunderstood knows how to listen deeply. These forms of wisdom cannot be taught in books. They are earned through living. We carry them quietly, and they serve us precisely when life asks for them most. When people doubt their readiness, they often compare themselves to others, believing that capability looks a certain way. They see someone speaking confidently, leading boldly, or succeeding visibly, and assume that those people possess something they do not. Yet the truth is that every confident person once felt uncertain. Every leader once hesitated, every expert once struggled. What separates them is not superior ability but trust. Trust in the preparation that life has already provided. Self-doubt blinds us to evidence of our own growth. When we pause to reflect on how far we've come, the proof of readiness becomes clear. The belief that you're already equipped also changes how we interpret past struggles. Difficult seasons that once felt meaningless take on new significance. The job that didn't work out may have taught patience or adaptability. The friendship that ended may have taught boundaries or forgiveness. The long wait for an opportunity may have built discipline and faith. When we connect these experiences, we begin to see that life has been organizing our growth in ways we couldn't perceive at the time. What once felt like delay was often preparation for something greater. Being equipped is not only about what we know, but about how we think. A person with a prepared mindset sees challenges as opportunities to apply what they've learned. They approach uncertainty not with panic, but with curiosity. What in my past can help me navigate this? This mental framing activates resourcefulness. Instead of seeking external validation or direction, they draw from internal wisdom. They understand that preparation is cumulative, the sum of every lesson, failure, and break through converging into present competence. Another sign of being equipped is emotional resilience. Life does not guarantee smooth paths, it guarantees unpredictability. Those who have learned to remain calm in chaos, to process disappointment without giving up, and to stay kind in the face of pressure have developed emotional armor. This is not immunity to hardship, it's the strength to move through it without losing purpose. That kind of readiness can't be measured on paper, but it determines how we respond when real challenges arrive. It is what allows people to lead, to persevere, and to inspire others in difficult times. We are also equipped through relationships. Every person we've encountered has taught us something: how to communicate, how to empathize, how to forgive, or how to set limits. These interpersonal lessons prepare us for leadership, collaboration, and compassion. Sometimes the people who frustrated us the most became our greatest teachers. The ability to understand others, even when they are difficult, is one of the most powerful forms of preparation life offers. It turns experience into wisdom and conflict into clarity. Often, people search for external qualifications before they allow themselves to act. They wait for a degree, a title, or permission from someone else to begin. But the deepest readiness comes from within. It is built from the collection of insights gathered over years of living and learning. The paper on the wall is not what makes someone capable. It's the perspective gained through trial and error, the judgment refined through experience, and the self-awareness earned through reflection. These are the true credentials of readiness. When we understand that we're already equipped, fear loses some of its power. We stop waiting for the perfect moment and start using what we have. Every journey begins not when everything is in place, but when we trust ourselves to figure things out along the way. The willingness to start is what activates all the preparation that has been waiting beneath the surface. Confidence does not come from having every answer. It comes from knowing we've handled uncertainty before and can do it again. Life has already been your teacher, shaping your mind, your strength, and your heart through countless experiences. The skills you need for the next challenge are not somewhere out there. They're already within you, waiting to be called upon. Whether you meant to or not, you've been training all along, and everything you've faced has equipped you for this very moment.